Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Looking at Week 13, got Sunday picks here for the NFL, 9-player prop projections and best bets, including some touchdowns that we have in there for you as well. Going to be running through all those, but want to let you know about a little bit of a deal if you do want to get into the VIP Discord and show you how well we've been doing recently, crushing the NBA. Got screwed by CD on Thanksgiving, so the Thanksgiving Day numbers weren't quite as good in the NFL, but still up nearly 5 units on the NFL, up almost 20 in the NBA, including a nice little run of 11-3 here in the last couple of days betting that. So I'm offering you guys a chance to get into the VIP for a free month. All you got to do is sign up for one of the apps linked in the description of the video. Got 5 opportunities in there. So for every app that you sign up for, using code LYB, go ahead and sign up using that code. Give me a screenshot showing me that you did it. We'll get you a free month into the VIP. Already got about 5 people looking at some free months now in the VIP section of the Discord. So hope that sounds good to you guys. We're going to be running through those plays right now for you. If that all sounds good, give the video a like. Let's jump right into it. Let's kick it off with a guy that I've been standing for all season. If you've been following along, we've bet on Bo Nix a number of times now, and he has come through in all of them. Sometimes it's been rushing, sometimes it's passing. Here we're going for passing against a poo-poo soft defense in the pass game. I love his ability to keep throwing here. They've got the training wheels completely off this guy. The only 2 games he's really gone under in these last 5 were Baltimore on the road, KC on the road, still averaging 219 in those games. So 223 in one, 219 in the other, or whatever it was, 215. So still looking at a really good number, and it's just a situation here. He's been so much better at home as well against Atlanta and Carolina, looking really good in those 2 games right there, especially more so at home. And that's what we like here for Bo Nix, playing at home once again. And I did want to bring up Deshaun Vele because he's been awesome for him as well, coming out of the slot in the last 3. And I've been waiting on Vele to sort of break out and show us what he's capable of. And he'll still be splitting a lot of stuff here with Cortland Sutton, even Troy Franklin still getting involved a bit, Troutman at times at tight end. But mostly, I love the uptick in usage for this dude. 76% routes run in the last 3 games, looking at about 6 targets per game and 60 yards as well. So I think he'll continue to be a pretty good deep and middle of the field threat for Bo Nix. His sort of resurgence as a young rook here, coming up and playing a lot better now that he's a lot healthier in these last 3 games as well. I think that's only going to continue to contribute. And I'd be lying if I said we shouldn't be looking at Cortland Sutton, who we've all been making fun of way too much, and at this point is clearly a top tier receiver for Nix. So love him to get the 225 at home this week. Easily think he gets to about 250 as well. Going to go with an under for pick number 2 here and fade Kenneth Walker on the rushing. I do believe we're in a good position to get some value from an underrated Jets defense getting CJ Mosley back, which probably should lead the way here in terms of what I'm telling you about why I like this bet. He's coming back to quarterback a run defense that's been bad this season, but should be better when he's in there. That's for damn sure. You look at the run blocking for Seattle on the other side, absolutely terrible. It's been so pathetic over the last 6 to 7 weeks, and really on the season now, dead last in adjusted yards before contact. Not even really Kenny Walker's fault at times, but he's not exactly a vision back either. He definitely relies on athleticism and strength to get him some open space yards. And if he's not even getting a hole defined, then he ain't getting there, right? If you look at the last 7, he's only at this team, and Kenny specifically, only at 44 yards per game, averaging about 14 attempts, but 3.2 yards per carry. So not a lot to like there. And they are 28th in terms of plays run now on the season. So not getting very many off, and the lowest rush percentage as well. On the road, it's the lowest rush percentage. On the season, it's still bottom 5. We know how much Geno's been passing this year. We know he's in the top 5 in passing attempts for a reason, and they don't believe in this run game and probably shouldn't, as we've told you about the O-line issues that they've had. So with the Jets defense that has looked bad, but has been better as of late, at least in the last couple, and will be better with CJ Mosley back, I do think this is an opportunity to take an under on a guy that's rush prop is up at about 65 yards, and we can go under that. How about an over on some rushing for a QB this time? We're looking at Jayden Daniels and his rush yards in this game against the Falcons. Partly and mostly be starting with Eckler is doubtful, not likely to play. He left last week's game with a concussion, which Brian Robinson, was missing. He's questionable still. Think he'll play. I really have no idea. I keep trying to say I can have a beat on whether or not Brian Robinson Jr. is going to play, but when he doesn't practice, that's the issue. He has been at practice this week. I think he plays, but don't hold me to that. Either way, with one RB out there that they like and not both their guys here with Eckler and B-Rob available, I do like Jayden Daniels to continue to have a few more designed runs for him. And this pass game has been on the decline for sure. He and Terry McLaurin have not really connected in the last couple of weeks. And they are in sort of a funk when it comes to the pass game right now overall. So you look at the way he played Dallas last week, big reason they won, 74 yards on the 7 attempts that he had. And he had 4 designed run plays. And that's the key here for me with the QBs like him or Lamar or anybody, even Josh Allen on the rushing, which is like, how much of it is on purpose and not just because they have bad pass blocking and then the quarterback is flushed out of the pocket. Well, Washington, not great, not bad pass blocking, and doesn't really matter. He's going to get out on a couple of undesigned runs, but with the design run rate up highest that it's been for him since week 3 last week against Dallas, kind of shows you that like they're resorting to some other things than just the normal traditional pass game here and traditional run game to get their yards, because the offense is a little bit undermanned and really dependent on Jayden Daniels to be explosive. And I think they'll lean into that against a Tennessee defense that's not going to allow them to just run the ball between the tackles with ease. 4th best run defense on the season in terms of DVOA, and 25th versus QB rushing yards. So very good at stopping everything that you would consider a normal rush from a running back, even on the wide receiver end arounds or attempts. Not much that they're giving up. They're very balanced and at home, but that the QB is able to get some yards against them. And in part, it comes on the undesigned runs. I will say, I do prefer that he gets a few flushed out of the pocket a few times, even though Tennessee is not really forcing the issue. They're not pressuring the quarterback very much. They're in like the bottom 12 in terms of pressure percentage. They're not blitzing either. So this is a little bit more about when the receivers run long routes, which these guys do. We got a lot of fly routes, especially from Terry McLaurin. Then there's a lot of green in between Jayden Daniels and the safeties that are running and the cornerbacks that are running with those receivers. So I think he'll have the opportunity to get about 40 rushing yards in this game. I would take this up to about 39.5. How about a quarterback-ish tight end on the receiving yards here, though, not the rushing for Taysom Hill? I love his involvement in the pass game as of late. You look at last week versus Cleveland, most targets on the team from quarterback Derek Carr, 10 of them, caught 8 of them, 50 yards on the receiving. No, the rushing, we know that he's broken a couple of rushes, right, in the last couple of weeks, and that's probably a good reason to add the rushing to this. But the receiving's at like 24.5. So I love that number for him, that he's gone over now 3 weeks in a row, or at least 2 weeks, 3 out of the last 4, I should say. 2 receptions for 41, week 9, 2 receptions for 36, week 10 versus Atlanta. So we're going to continue to see a lot of that sort of usage for him go up, right? Because those were still in a different situation. Now with head coach Rizzi really coming out recently and saying, we want him involved more. And he made that clear during the game last week and then after the game last week in a post-game press conference. So I'm going to believe him that we're still going to see roughly 5 to 6 targets here, at least for Taysom Hill in this one, without receivers available for the Saints, as we know. So going to bank on him to get close to 30 yards in this one on the usage that he should see. Another guy I like here who is coming up, and that's Xavier Legette. And so the rise of Bryce Young, if you want to, I mean, it's a rise for sure, because it might not be a rise from much to much, but it's a rise. He's on the right path right now. And Xavier Legette has been a big part of that. 23, at least one 23-plus yard reception in 4 straight games now since we've seen Bryce Young rise up a little bit, as I said. Playing a Bucs team sucks against the pass. We know that. 5th most receptions allowed and yards to the wide receiver position. Been banged up in the secondary all season. Continue to be, and continue to rely on guys like Jamel Dean to guard way faster players like Xavier Legette. This dude who also is a big boy. I'll say that about Jamel Dean. Going to be bigger than Legette, but not going to be fast enough to hang out with him. And his hammy went in week 12. We saw that he missed some time because of that. And he's had a bad season all year. I mean, he's 109th when it comes to his man coverage rating, which is what we're probably going to see here again for Tampa Bay against this team, at least enough that when he's one-on-one with Xavier Legette, even if it's a zone blitz or a zone scheme on defense for them, he's still going to be left in a one-on-one position at times, whether it's because Xavier Legette is cross route into his zone or because he's just flying through it and they're looking for him about 15, 16 yards down the field with awesome ability to get yak, as we know from the speedster. So going to bank on him to get at least one for about 20 yards in this one and take the over on the longest reception. Let's get into a touchdown play, although I think Jaylen Warren's probably good for whatever type of overs you want to use to bet on this man. Take it. I love him in this game, and I love the way that we're seeing him sort of overtake Najee Harris, which I feel like, I don't know if I'm the only one, I don't know how Steelers fans feel about this, but I think most football fans have been watching the Steelers run game for the last 3 to 4 or 5 years, ever since Najee wasn't a rookie and had an awesome year, including catching the ball that year. Then Jaylen Warren comes in, he becomes the receiving back, but we're all just like, isn't he a better running back? Like, isn't he just more explosive? And he's been hurt at the beginning of the season and throughout different parts. So that's a big reason why I don't don't think the sort of overtaking of the RB1 spot for Jaylen Warren has been as fast as we thought. It's been taking a lot of time. I think we're there, though. You look at Cincinnati, awful rush defense. We know that. 30th in rush EPA, 5th most TDs to the running back that they've allowed. But it's the flipping of the sharing, the opportunity shares that I see here. And out-snapped Najee last week for this man. And if you look at the last 2 games, since he's really been healthy, it's also been the run game where he's dominating much more so than Najee. 4.8 yards per carry in the last 2, and Najee 3.05 yards per carry. And the way that this is flipped at this point in terms of the usage, Jaylen Warren only has 9 fewer carries now than Najee Harris over the last 6 games, right? So, and that's including him mostly being used as the receiving back in that time frame. So Najee's been having a better season as of late for sure, but this is clearly the more explosive and now healthy enough back to take over. I like his rushing stuff as we continue to see value on his rush props because of the fact that books haven't really taken into consideration that Warren will move forward and project him to have more touches than Najee Harris. And that's where I'm at. So anything 2 to 1 or better is awesome for the touchdown for Warren. I think he's going to get in from further away than even like 10 yards out. So I don't think it matters if he's getting red zone touches or not, but we're going to see him get some red zone touches. All right, Gus the Bus is a little bit of a trap, but I still like the over because it's still beatable at 46.5 yards. Once we get too far into the 50s for the rushing yards for Gus Edwards, I'm kind of out. And this is me giving numbers for those of you complaining that I'm not giving you the exact lines in the comments. I'm saying it, and you're outing yourselves now as people just skipping through and not listening to what I'm saying because it's not up on screen, but I'm saying it here. So hopefully you got it. Gus Edwards, 45 to 50 yards rushing, like the over. This is an awful defense he's going up against, that poo-poo Falcons defense. So Dobbins out. Great. I know that. He's not going to play for a couple of weeks. That helps. Still going to see a bit of a split, right, in terms of Gus Edwards and Kamani Vidal more so in the pass game than the rush game. But even the third RB at this point, they're going to mix in 3 of them for the Chargers. So keep that in mind. It's not like Gus is going to be out there for 18 carries the way we've seen Dobbins have in the past. I still think he's at about 13 to 14, but that should be enough for him to get there on at about 5 yards per carry or so. Not even, honestly, 4.5 yards per carry. But this defensive line, and the whole front 7 for Atlanta, baby poo soft. It's been bad all season. They're using light boxes and not even helping out. They're already weak linebacking core, to be honest. Everything for them is the strength of it is in the defense, the defensive secondary, I should say, and a bit in the middle. But Gus Edwards is going to be able to run outside and inside, I believe, in this one. You look at the Atlanta defense at home this season, 132.7 yards per game that they're allowing. So even if you have a 3-back system here where Gus is getting the bulk of the carries, put him at 80 yards at that point, 50. But I like I said, I think 50 is a really good number for him. If you wanted to bet 50 plus for some alt money, a little bit of plus odds, I think that's good. But this core number, anything 50 or below, is going to be great for Gus. And I also think we need to talk about Kamani Vidal. As I briefly mentioned a minute ago, we tried to go for a tutty for him the last time Dobbins was out. Didn't work out, but I still think he's good for that as the receiving back. And we don't have receiving props yet for Vidal, but if we do get them, because the books decide not to be cowards, I will be betting those overs for him as the predominant receiving back for this team this week. And that's going to be a big reason for his usage. And that's another reason why I think a 4-1 touchdown for Kamani is a good look still. We're talking about Atlanta also allowing a ton to the running back through the air as well as on the ground. Third most receptions to running backs and the third most TDs, 3 TDs through the air, but then also a bunch on the ground. So either way, if Kamani gets involved in the run game, great. But if he doesn't, I highly expect him to be involved in the pass game. And that would be where I would be targeting him. In the TD, for what it's worth, is worth it at about 4-1 or better. One more tutty, a guy who should be seeing another big usage game like he had last week. Although Tajay Spears might be back, I still think Pollard at about plus 130 or better is a really good touchdown play. He's fully healthy, so whether Spears plays or not, Spears is not clearly as healthy as this dude who was recovering from a toe injury for a while and is a big reason I couldn't put him on the card very often, but his usage is just monstrous, so I want to get him involved, and now I think we can do that on the touchdown. And the receiving, great, or the rushing even, whatever. I think he's going to have a good week this week with Washington, especially that way that rush defense has been playing this over the course of the last 3 or 4 games. Total backslide now, 3rd or 4th worst in terms of their rush EPA on defense. And this is a dude getting most of the goal line work, even when Spears is out there. So I still think with Spears, this is a fine play. In fact, if Spears is listed as healthy and finally declared healthy to play is the word I'm looking for, then we might even get a bit more juice on the Tony Pollard odds. And this offense can finally move the ball. That's another reason why I'm not scared to bet on Tony Pollard anymore, is they couldn't keep drives alive. They couldn't move the ball down the field and pick up yards in between the 20s. and now they can't. We've seen Calvin Ridley come to life. Nick Westbrook Akine, guy we had for a 5-1 touchdown recently. Calvin Ridley looks really good all of a sudden again, almost 100 yards last week. So the fact that they can move the ball and this is still their best weapon, love backing Tony Pollard in any way you want this week, but the touchdown is one of the best value spots. One more reminder, don't forget to go ahead and jump in the description of the video, sign up for any of the apps that we have listed there, send me the screenshot, and I'll get you a free month in the Discord on the VIP so you don't miss any of these picks as we still climbing up that ladder on the NBA, especially up nearly 20 units now through the first month and a half. But we're going to keep it going here. Best of luck on your bets this Sunday, and until I see y'all next, happy betting.